Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into Ezekiel chapter 17.
Right.
And this chapter, it's really packed with imagery. We get this allegory, and then helpfully the text itself interprets it.
Yeah, it's fascinating how it does that. It gives you the riddle first, then the answer.
Yeah.
Makes you really engage with the symbols.
Exactly. So our plan for this deep dive is to walk through those symbols, look at the interpretation given right there in the text, and maybe think about what these, ancient words could mean for you today.
Sounds good. It starts with a pretty striking image, doesn't it?
It really does. This great eagle, the description is quite specific. Powerful wings, long feathers, full plumage, lots of colors. You get a real sense of majesty and, well, power.
Dominance, yeah.
Yeah.
And its action is very deliberate. It comes to Lebanon, famous for cedars, right? Symbolizing
Yeah.
strength.
Mhm.
And it takes the very top of a cedar, not just any branch, but the topmost shoot. The leadership, essentially.
Right, the highest point.
Yeah,
And this eagle takes this shoot
right.
where,
To a land of merchants, a city of traders, which, as we find out later, is interpreted as Babylon.
okay, so the dominant power takes the leadership away to its own territory, and it plants it.
Yes, and not just carelessly. It says it took some of the seed of your land, connecting it back and put it in fertile soil, planted it like a willow by abundant water.
So it sounds like it's being set up to grow, maybe even thrive in this new place.
That's the impression. It's a deliberate planting, providing what it needs. It's like establishing something new, but under the eagle's control,
And what does it become? Not another tall cedar, apparently.
No, it becomes a low-spreading vine. And crucially, its branches turn towards that first eagle. It seems to, acknowledge where its new setup came from.
But its roots stay put.
Yeah. The roots remained under itself in that soil it was planted in. It did grow, it produced branches, it had leaves, it was alive, established where the eagle put it.
Okay, but then things change. Another player enters.
Exactly. A second great eagle appears, also described as powerful, full plumage, another major force on the scene.
And the vine, the one planted by the first eagle, what does it do now?
This is the twist. The vine actively sent its roots and branches toward this second eagle. It starts looking for water, for sustenance from this new power, instead of relying on the abundant source where it was originally planted.
A shift in loyalty. Or at least in where it's looking for help.
Precisely. And the text immediately asks the obvious question, will it thrive, given this change?
It feels like a rhetorical question, almost. Why reach elsewhere when you were planted well?
Right. It introduces this instability, this potential for disaster, despite the good start.
And the text spells out that potential disaster pretty graphically if it doesn't thrive, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Well.
It says it will be uprooted, stripped of its fruit. It'll wither, even the new leaves. And it emphasizes its weakness. It won't take much effort to pull it up. All that initial care, undone.
A complete failure.
And the final image is stark. It asks again, even if it is transplanted, will it thrive? And the answer, a definite no. It just withers completely. When the east wind, often a symbol of judgment or harsh reality, strikes it, it withers right there in the plot where it grew. Its doom is sealed.
Wow. Okay, so that's the allegory. Eagles, cedar top, vine, seeking water elsewhere, withering, heavy stuff.
But like you said, the text doesn't leave us hanging.
No, it pivots. It asks, basically, do you get it? Do you not know what these things mean?
Yeah.
And then it lays out the interpretation.
Which is super helpful.
Yeah.
So who's the first eagle?
The king of Babylon. The text is explicit. Nebuchadnezzar, the superpower of the day.
Okay. And the cedar top, the topmost shoot taken from Lebanon.
That's the king of Jerusalem, King Jehoiachin, and his nobles, his officials.
Yeah.
Babylon came, took the leadership, exiled them.
Right, the historical Babylonian captivity,
Yeah.
deported to Babylon.
Exactly. Fits perfectly.
So Babylon removes Jerusalem's king. What about the vine that the first eagle plants? That's the next step. The king of Babylon takes another member of the royal family, this would be Zedekiah, Jehoiachin's uncle, and makes him king in Jerusalem.
Ah, so he installs a replacement.
Yes, but not as an independent ruler. He makes a treaty with Zedekiah, puts him under a solemn oath. Zedekiah, this new king, he's the vine, planted by Babylon.
Okay, so the first eagle, Babylon, plants this vine. Zedekiah, binding him with an oath. He's the low, spreading vine meant to stay low.
Precisely. The text even says the purpose of the treaty was so the kingdom would be brought low, unable to rise, surviving only by keeping that treaty.
Total dependency. Keep Judah weak, a vassal state.
That was the goal. Don't cause trouble, just exist under Babylon's authority.
But the vine didn't stay loyal, did it? In the allegory, it turned to the second eagle.
And that's exactly what Zedekiah did historically. He rebelled. He broke the treaty, broke the oath. He sent envoys to Egypt, the second eagle, looking for military help. Horses, a big army.
So, the vine turning to the second eagle for water is Zedekiah turning to Egypt for military support against Babylon, the power that put him on the throne and to whom he swore an oath.
You got it. A direct violation of the agreement, seeking help from Babylon's main rival.
And this leads us straight into the consequences section, which feels very serious.
Extremely serious. It shifts to a declaration from the sovereign Lord. This isn't just politics now. It's framed as a divine judgment.
And the reason given is really specific, isn't it?
Crystal clear. The king despised the oath and broke the treaty covenant he had given his hand in pledge for. Breaking an oath like that, especially one sworn to the king who appointed you, and implicitly before God, that was a huge deal.
More than just bad politics, a moral, even a spiritual failure in their worldview.
Absolutely. And the consequences are spelled out. The Lord says Zedekiah shall die in Babylon, the land of the very king who made him king. The place he tried to escape from becomes the place of his judgment and death.
That's grim irony. And what about Egypt, the second eagle he turned to? Will they help?
Nope. The text is blunt. Pharaoh and his army will be of no help to him in war. When Babylon comes with its siege ramps and engines, Egypt will be useless.
So relying on that alliance, built on a broken promise, is futile.
Completely futile. The text says, he shall not escape. And God takes personal responsibility here. He says, I myself will bring down on his head my oath that he despised and my covenant that he broke.
Wait, God calls it his oath and covenant even though Zedekiah swore it to Babylon?
Yes, that's crucial, because oaths were often sworn invoking divine witness.
Yeah.
Breaking it wasn't just betraying Babylon. It was seen as despising the sanctity of the oath itself, which God upholds. It elevates the offense dramatically.
Wow. Okay. And God is depicted as actively catching him.
Yeah, the imagery is vivid. I will spread my net for him, and he will be caught in my snare. It's portrayed as a direct, deliberate act of divine justice.
And the judgment happens in Babylon.
Yes, I will bring him to Babylon and execute judgment upon him there because he was unfaithful to me. Again, the unfaithfulness is ultimately framed as being towards the Lord.
And his army. The horses and troops he wanted from Egypt or raised himself.
Total destruction. Fleeing troops will fall by the sword, survivors scattered to the winds. The whole military effort collapses.
Just complete ruin for the king and his forces. And why does the text say all this happens? What's the point?
The stated purpose is, then you will know that I, the Lord, has spoken. It's a powerful demonstration of God's sovereignty, his authority, and the real consequences of breaking solemn commitments.
It's a very sobering picture. Human failure, broken trust, leading to judgment.
Very much so. It feels heavy reading that part. The weight of failure and consequence.
It does, but thankfully the chapter doesn't stop there, does it? There's a shift.
A massive shift. It moves from judgment to hope, to a promise of restoration. And this time it's initiated entirely by God.
How does that start?
It echoes the beginning, but with a key difference. The Lord himself says, I myself will take a shoot from the very top of a cedar and plant it. God is doing the planting now, taking from the original source of strength like the first eagle did, but his purpose and the outcome are completely different.
Okay, so God takes a shoot. Where does he plant this one? Not in Babylon, I assume.
No, quite the opposite. He plants this tender sprig on a high and lofty mountain, specifically the mountain heights of Israel. It signifies return, restoration to the proper place, elevated and secure this time.
A homecoming, almost. And what does this shoot become?
Unlike the low, struggling vine, this one becomes a splendid cedar. Like the original tree, it will produce branches and bear fruit. It's a picture of real flourishing, of life, directly contrasting the withered vine.
And does it offer anything? The vine seemed self-focused, then desperately seeking elsewhere.
This cedar is different. It provides birds of every kind will nest in it. They will find shelter in the shade of its branches. It becomes a source of life, refuge, security for others, a blessing.
That's a beautiful image. From ruin to refuge.
And this whole act of restoration is meant to be a lesson, a sign for everyone. The Lord declares, all the trees of the fields will know that I, the Lord, bring down the tall tree and make the low tree grow tall. I dry up the green tree and make the dry tree flourish.
So it's a demonstration of his ultimate control over nations, power, life itself.
Exactly. Human schemes, alliances, power struggles, they're all subject to his sovereignty. He's the one who ultimately determines who rises and who falls, what flourishes and what withers. It puts human politics in perspective.
It really does. And how does this section end?
It ends with the same kind of certainty as the judgment section, but this time it's a certainty of promise. I, the Lord, have spoken, and I will do it. The guarantee shifts from the consequences of human failure to the accomplishment of divine faithfulness.
Wow. So we've traced this journey in Ezekiel 17 from this tricky allegory of eagles in a vine
Representing Babylon, Jerusalem's kings, Egypt.
to the text's own interpretation, showing a broken oath, Zedekiah's rebellion, leading to really severe divine judgment.
Yeah, the consequences of that broken covenant are laid bare.
But then finally, this powerful promise of restoration, initiated purely by God himself, planting a new cedar that will flourish and offer shelter.
It's quite a narrative arc. It really highlights how seriously that culture and the text viewed oaths and covenants. Breaking them wasn't just politically unwise, it invited disaster because it violated something seen as sacred.
And it contrasts human maneuvering Zedekiah trying to play superpowers off each other through broken faith with God's ultimate power and faithfulness, which is where true lasting restoration comes from.
Right. The human king breaks his promise, leading to ruin. But the chapter ends with the ultimate promise keeper declaring what he will faithfully do.
It definitely leaves you thinking about trust, about where we place it, about the weight of our own commitments.
And about who's really in control of the big picture.
Exactly. So here's something to maybe mull over. This chapter paints a stark picture of the results of a broken promise, sworn under oath, but it ends with God declaring his own unwavering promise. How does that make you think about promises, the ones you make, the ones made to you in your own life, knowing this ancient perspective on their weight and where ultimate control over flourishing or withering might lie?
It's a deep question. It certainly anchors hope not in shifting human alliances, but somewhere much more stable.
Indeed. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Ezekiel 17.